In my video about reincarnation, I shared some of my observation. Not only did I find picture comparisons between King Henry VIII and President Trump, I also found possible past life connections of Barron, Ivanka, Jared Kushner, and even one for his wife. Unlike most reincarnation theorists, who present mostly hearsay, I will show you comparisons in personality, physical characteristics, including height, eye color, and even handwriting samples. Before we render our vote that President Trump is the reincarnation of Henry VIII, let's first compare their looks. Henry VIII was famous for his red hair and blue eyes. President Trump's hair color is up for debate as it changes all the time. But Celebriate.com calls his hair red and his eyes blue. And guess what? They are both 6 feet 2 inches tall. Their looks comparison can be even more striking when you compare the picture of the young king and the young president. I think anyone would agree their undisputable resemblance. Of course, the most striking resemblance between Henry VIII and Donald Trump is their personalities. They are determined, focused, willing to take risk, and gained the love and admiration of many. Henry VIII executed 2 of his queens. One of them, Anne Boleyn, was guilty of many things, but almost for sure innocent of the crime she was killed for. But King Henry was loved by his supporters no matter what. When the Pope refused to grant him the divorce in 1534, Henry VIII sent this message to the Pope: "You're fired." A familiar act that we saw many times when President Trump swept his dislikes off the table. He went nuclear when he could not get enough votes to confirm his pick for Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch. How many leaders in the world can take such actions without getting in trouble? You tell me. Assuming President Trump is the reincarnation of King Henry VIII, then it is likely that his families from that life can still be around him today. Based on personality, relationship, and pictures, I think Ivanka may be Queen Elizabeth I, and Jared Kushner was King Edward VI. Ivanka was the beloved daughter that may take the baton from Donald one day, while Jared looks exactly like Edward and has unbreakable bonds with Donald. More so than Donald's sons, Donald Jr., Eric, and Barron. Of course, what is on everybody's mind must be Henry VIII's 6 wives. Where are they now? I think I for sure found one. It is someone you would never dream of. In addition to an undisputable resemblance, I will surprise you with another comparison. Handwriting samples. Please note that we are not looking for a striking match, but more so some similarities that are as intriguing as the reincarnation theory itself. Are you ready to start? Let's start with comparing the known signature of Henry VIII and President Trump. Dang. I can't say they look too much alike, but comparing President Trump's signature with Henry VIII's handwriting note, I can see more similarity. I am not a handwriting expert, and the writing styles for most people have changed over the last 500 years. While President Trump usually capitalizes every word as if he was yelling, so it is almost impossible to have a good comparison. However, despite so many factors, I have to say I can't rule out some connections between these 2 writings. Now, let's move on to analyze signatures of the one Tudor queen I found today. It was the Queen Henry VIII called Smells Bad, Looks Like a Horse. Do you know who I think is the reincarnation of Anne of Cleves? She's a woman President Trump called Pig, slob with a fat, ugly face. Don't be surprised, it is Rosie O'Donnell I have in mind. I actually think Anne and Rosie both look really sweet, and they also look very much alike. You may point to the obvious flaw in my theory. The feud between Rosie and Donald started in 2006 and is still ongoing. But poor Anne of Cleves never raised her voice. Although a blue-blooded princess, she married that grumpy old man who blamed her for his impotency. If Anne dared to talk back, she would be cut short, literally, on the block. If you think this is a bad joke, then wait till you see this. This is the signature I found for Anne, and this is Rosie's. Remember the 500-year difference? Isn't that amazing? So the next subject of our discussion will be King Edward VI, Henry VIII's beloved son. King Edward wants to be like his dad. Like most Tudor royals, he is intelligent beyond his age. But before he died at age 15, he ordered executions on both of his uncles, Edward and Thomas Seymour, without showing any emotion. And then before his death, cut both of his sisters off the throne against his father's wish to his cousin Jane. I wonder what he would have been like at age 36 if he had not died at 15. Even if you feel everything else I said is nonsense, you probably can't argue about how much these two look alike. However, I don't think anyone could have said their signatures looked alike, right? What if I can prove you wrong? What if I can show you Jared signs just like King Edward? Why I can do that? Because you not only have to look for the obvious, you need to look for what should not be there. How can Jared's scribble look like Edward's print? Jared's D looks nothing like Edward's D, and you can't even find Jared's R to compare with Edward's R. But look here. How do you explain this? Did Jared intentionally copy Edward's signature? Or did King Edward add these expecting someone just like him would sign just like him? Now, do you still think reincarnation is a joke? So, how about Ivanka? I think she was Queen Elizabeth I. Not only was she her father's favorite daughter, but she seemed to inherit her father's political charm and business sense and is the most likely the one to take charge. Does her signature look like Queen Liz first? The likeness is not word for word, but look at the calligraphy and compare that with her signature. Do you see my point? Now, let's look at who Melania may be. Of course, I started with Henry VIII's 6 queens, although I think there are some resemblances between Melania and Jane Seymour and Catherine Parr. I give my vote to a famous Tudor queen, Mary Tudor. Mary was a Tudor princess but a French queen. She was known as the most beautiful princess in Europe. Henry VIII consented to a marriage to Louis XII of France to be his 3rd queen. The marriage lasted less than 3 months, and Henry levied a heavy fine when Mary married Charles Brandon, 1st Duke of Suffolk, despite Henry's prior written promise. So, does Melania sign like Queen Mary Tudor? I think I have to say inconclusive, but what do you think? Maybe it will be easier if I show all 6 of Henry VIII's queens' signatures side by side with signatures from 3 Mrs. Trumps. You probably noticed Jane Seymour kind of looks like Catherine Parr's, while there is some resemblance between Catherine Howard and Anne Boleyn. You probably don't know they were first cousins who share the same husband and same fate. Since Henry VIII inherited Catherine of Aragon from his brother Arthur, and had no better European Protestant princess other than Anne of Cleves to choose. The 4 queens he married by choice seemed all from the same mold. But that raises another interesting point. Marla Maples looks like the young version of Ivana Trump. Melania can pass as young Ivana, or Marla if she dyes her hair. Since we can't really tell these ladies apart by looks, let's see if we can figure something out based on their handwriting. Although not a perfect match, I will cast my vote for Ivana as Catherine of Aragon. Catherine and Henry VIII were happily married and in love, till a young woman showed up and stole the man's heart. I think the A, the N, and this long line across shows a similar writing style. And in these 2 pictures, they actually do look kind of alike. How about Marla Maples? Although I did not find a perfect match, if I have to choose from one of these based on a signature match, I will say the most likely one will be Anne Boleyn. As you can see in this signature, the way Anne signed her name. Anne, kind of like the way Marla signs Marla. I know it is not likely the Tudor family of 500 years ago reappeared in its entirety as the Trump family now. but I will let you decide based on what I have found. How about Trump's other three sons? Donald Jr., Eric, and Barron. Let's start with Don Jr. My wild guess, based on signatures, is to bring up William Howard, Lord Howard of Effingham. He was uncle to both Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. Like Jared and Ivanka, Don Jr. also has a scribbled signature. But look at the right side. Do you see a 3? And now look at William Howard's signature. Do you also see a 3? And the writing style is quite similar. As for Eric Trump, I will say his signature looks like Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset. He is King Edward VI's uncle, executed under King Edward's order. I can't find Tiffany nor Barron's signature, but I did find a picture match for Barron and Tiffany. Barron looks like Charles Stuart, King James's uncle, while Tiffany looks like Margaret Tudor, King Henry's older sister, Queen of Scots and the grandmother of Charles Stuart. People call souls that travel through life together soulmates. Love and hate may be faded from memory when souls travel from life to life. But the personality, preferences, style, or even handwritings may surface when you least expect. Did I show you proof of reincarnation? Or proof that I am totally crazy? This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.